Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
All right, well, here we are again at our studio, and we always have such interesting, entertaining people. And the big problem we have now in our elder world is that a lot of people are being taken advantage. My guest, Mark MOROWITZ, you know, Mark, I don't know if you heard that there are lots of horrible phone calls being made. Says, if you don't answer this phone, we're going to put you in jail. I mean, terrible things. And unfortunately, an older person gets very frightened. And so I've been looking for people who will be able to actually talk to an elder person, give them good advice, trustworthy advice. We already have 2 people on our listening now.
That's awesome.
Well, you know, it's we have a wonderful group of people who we all work with. But, Mark, so your business now is really being an elder, I'm going to use a funny word, an elder lover. And I'm saying it because you love the elder population. You come with great experience as a CPA, with a lot of other things that you're in the financial world. And so we need people like you.
Thank you for that. It takes somebody who's sensitive and somebody who can advocate for elderly people today, because there aren't that many people that can do that or want to do that.
Yeah, I think what you just said is want, because people need guardians. It's not something good. I wish people didn't need guardians. They ought to have their family taking care of them, but we all know that distance is a very big thing. And so people are away and they can't take care of their family, except they'll rush down for a weekend, think they take care of everything, and they don't. That's
true. That's true. Only in Japan do elders become revered by the younger people.
Well, it's happening more and more, though, here. See, as Boomer Times, that's what we do in our magazine. We put in articles about things that are going to make the boomers realize that they, for the grace of God, go they, right?
That's true.
And we need to know that the older adults took care of them, and they have to really reciprocate. You know.
I agree.
I mean, my kids are very loving about me, and so I think there are a lot of people. I was loving to my mother and my father, so I think that it's the minority of them who don't really do the right thing that gives the majority a bad name.
Well, you know what? I try to explain to my clients that it's the circle of life. You know, we start out as infants and we end up as infants if we're lucky enough to live that long. And, you know, the parents the kids have taken care of their own kids. They want to live when they get into their 50s and 60s, and, you know, they don't have the patience to go back and take care of another infant. And, you know, the beauty about being a grandparent is you get to see the kids and send them home. And, you know, and I find that to be distressing and disturbing sometimes. And sometimes it takes people like me that step in and make sure that the right things are done.
So give me a little background on you and why you think that you are the right person to do this, and what do you actually do?
Okay. So I've been a practicing CPA for 40 some odd years, and, you know, doing taxes and audits and everything that we do. And, when I first started out, I was a young pup and knew nothing about elder care. In fact, I don't even think they had elder care then, but estates and trusts and things like that, I had no idea about any of that. Most of my clients were young like me, but as I've grown up and grown older, I find that everybody, you know, you have to learn what your clients need. And I've seen that, I've actually got, you know, developed my business so far, my practice, because the kids, when I say kids, people in their 50s and 60s, they know that I am empathetic, and they kind of feel like I'm one of their brothers, and, you know, they say, we don't want to have to do this. We trust you. You're a CPA. We've dealt with you for years. Can you handle this for us? We just want to take our mom out to dinner. We don't want to get involved in the financial stuff. We don't want to fight as brothers and sisters. And so will you do that? And that's how I got started doing that.
Let me tell you, we have 4 people watching: Seth Levy, Chuck Montgomery, John Album, and Gary Polk. They're all listening to. Yeah, well,
I hope it's informative for them.
Well, it is, and all these are, I know many of these people, and they're very smart and very professional, and it's good. That's why you're doing this.
Good.
But let's really talk a little bit about that. So what would you do? Let's say that someone is interested? Do you work out a contract so that somebody says, okay, I'm gonna give you 4 hours a week or something, and this is what I'm going to do?
The way it usually starts is I get retained to pay the bills, okay? And I'll go to the house. I go to somebody's house. They don't have to come to me. And whether it's once a week or every 2 weeks or once a month, however often it may be, realizing that most of the older people don't do bill pay. They're not on the computer. They still get their bills mailed to the house. They still have a checkbook. I'll go and sit with them. And what I found the first time that I did that, I picked up the newspaper from outside, brought it in the house, and I sat with them and realized that 15 minutes in, I was done paying the bills. Yeah. And then for 45 minutes, I sat and talked to them.
They gave you cookies and they gave you something to drink.
Anything I wanted. I could use the bathroom. and they said, you know what? I said, this is social time for them. They're starved for social affection.
Right. Gene Wicken has also just jumped in now. So
good.
You're becoming very popular here.
I hope so.
Well, that's what we want to do. So what you said, though, is something that I discovered years ago when I would go to meet with someone for some, other reason, and they don't want to let you go. And and the other thing that's interesting is sometimes they've just lost a spouse, and they're very susceptible to things. So it's lovely to have someone, and not their kids so much, but an individual who they would trust and could say, look, this is what we're going to do, and if you want to go on a cruise or you want to do this, let me give you some advice. And then and they're paying for it, so it's important because it's like hiring a CPA or hiring some company. And so a person like yourself who, you have that the feeling of being altruistic, of being kind, and yet very, very professional.
That's correct. And it just evolves from there. And a lot of times, that shock of either losing a spouse or a lot of people, they get diagnosed with dementia. They don't have the capacity to do what they used to. And a lot of a lot of female clients that I have who've lost their husbands, they're lost. They don't know. And, they may have kids that live in different states and they don't know what to do. So having prepared their taxes for years, they naturally turn to me, and it evolves to, one of my cases has evolved from just paying bills to, I'm now the guardian, a power of attorney, and I've even had to go so far as to have her admitted to, a assisted living facility, and I get the phone calls from Lifeline. I get the phone calls from the hospital that we had to pick her up and take her to the hospital. So I end up having to make those decisions because either that there's a poor relationship with the kids or the kids aren't there to make those decisions. And sometimes it's difficult to do that. However, what I also find is sometimes easier for me because I'm not the child. I'm not the real child. I can wear the black hat sometimes, which sometimes you have to do.
But you then always have the relationship with their children or with people who will help you. Most people, if they understand what you do, they will cooperate with you.
Yes.
And you're a professional, so it's not just someone that they've picked up off the street to help them.
Correct. I don't do this willy-nilly. I involve the family in everything that I do. I don't get signing authority on the checkbook. I refuse to do that. I will write the checks and have people sit there with me and say, sign the checks. Here's the bill. We're paying the bill. That's how I maintain my sense of honesty. Okay. And I never try to sell anybody anything. I never try to influence any decisions that they may make. I may recommend a lawyer if they want to, if somebody says to me, I want to change my will. I want to write my kids out of the will. I hear that all the time. Sure. They didn't call me last week. Okay.
My father was a lawyer, and that's so funny, Marcus. If I didn't call him every day, say, that's it, you're out of the will.
Right.
And what is that?
And you know what I found is I just say, okay, and then tomorrow they forget it, and so I've learned.
Same thing with giving up their car.
Exactly.
I'm sure
that's independence right there.
Of course.
And, but if that's the case, or if they need a homemade, I will, contact an agency or, if I know somebody, I'll try to get them in there. Try to find people that can drive them and do things like that.
I think you're a wonderful asset for people who don't have people like this. And I haven't really had too much experience of getting people. A lot of people would be home health agencies, and they take on some of this responsibility. But I don't think that's the right thing. What you are, in my mind, and correct me, is you're a geriatric care manager. A geriatric care manager is a wonderful profession where they get the social workers. They get the people that they think they need to get. It's really in fact, if I didn't have this magazine and I wanted to stay in this business, I'd probably become a geriatric care manager because I feel very much like you do. And it's needed. And there aren't many of them around.
Yeah. That's why I call myself a surrogate son. It's what would you do for your parents? Okay. And that really is the overriding factor. And there aren't many people that I know, including my own siblings, that would take on the responsibility that I have.
Yeah. And so you have children.
I do. But my kids are scattered.
They like their dad doing this?
You know what? I don't even think that they know what I do. They've kind of, taken different turns in their lives and
they should be proud of you.
I'm sure if they knew what I did, they would be proud of me. You know what? They're involved in their own lives right now but so I focus on this and
I love it.
And
I've got 5 stars for you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
We have another person, Sandy Pallet Klein is watching. All these people want to get on, but I'm not doing that now. What people can do, if they have questions, they can write questions here, and then I will, we could ask them. We've had that happen before too.
Great.
But I'm really glad you're on the radio show because we're touching on a subject which is extremely important. And let me also say to everybody, we're having our Boomer Expo, and Mark will be there. He's going to be an exhibitor, and that's going to be on July the 24th over there at the Seminole Casino.
Yep.
And so we have, a lot of people who will, as long as what you have shows clearly, just remember the information, geriatric care manager. Look that up because there are people who do it, but not a lot. And I don't know exactly why. I think because they do charge probably much too much money, maybe. Maybe that's the problem. But it absolutely is a needed resource. You're perfect. I mean, I'm so glad you're here talking about this.
That's good to know.
Yeah, it is.
It's good to know. I find that when people pay me, they realize I have a value, but my value is so much greater than just sitting paying the bills. It's protection.
I think it's your advice.
My advice.
They need advice. They don't know who to turn to or what to. Really, I mean, as one ages, even I have an adult son, and there are things that sometimes I'll share, and I'll say, I think I'm going to do this, and sometimes he said, Mom, I don't know, that's so wise, and I think about it, and then I maybe follow what he says, and maybe I don't.
Right, that's right. So I always get everybody to call. You call me anytime you get a phone call from somebody who says they're from the IRS or somebody who says they have your grandson in jail or something like that. These scams happen all the time. And in fact, just I think it was yesterday or the day before in the Sun Sentinel, there were 2 articles about elder scams just in one day. And it's just incredible. Somebody has to protect them. And most of the time, elderly parents are concerned about being judged by their kids if they get caught in these scams, so they never tell anybody.
You are so right.
I don't judge them. I don't judge, and they know to call me first. And,
right, they are embarrassed.
Yeah, nothing better than to get a phone call from somebody and say, I just got a call from, what do I do? I say, you did the right thing. Just let me handle it.
And so when you have clients, you have a big sign on their door, right? Don't do anything that's unusual without calling me.
That's right. And you know what? Sometimes I get phone calls at 11 o'clock at night. I get 3 o'clock in the morning. It's okay. It's okay. It's who I am.
So let's give a phone number so people can call you. Don't call them at 2 in the morning if you don't have to. It's called Mark Morowitz, MOROWITZ. And his phone number, remember, it's Pencil Talk Radio. Get your pencils out and write this down. 609-338-3603. Again, 609-338-3603. 3603. And, your number, your 609 number is, I guess, still from
South Jersey.
Oh, South Jersey.
South Jersey. I slowly made my way south. Very slow.
Okay. Do you have a website at all?
MOROWITZCPA.com.
Okay, MOROWITZCPA.com. That's MOROWITZ. MOROWITZCPA.com. So let's talk about what someone would do. So they make a phone call to you, and they're going to say they probably would like to meet you. They don't want to just do this over the phone, do they?
Most of the time, no. I have to meet them.
So you will go there.
Right.
And you will lay out, I see you have a very nice brochure, and you will lay out, well, I guess the best thing to find out is what they want or
That's
what they
correct.
need.
We'll sit, they'll most of the time they'll call and say, my mother just was diagnosed with dementia, my father, and nobody can take care of them. They need some, first it's mostly, can you pay their bills? And that's where it starts. And then we'll sit and we'll talk, and I'll get an idea of the family and, what everybody wants. And if there's financial estate that they want to make sure that is maintained. Because a lot of times kids, like to spend their parents' money while they're still alive. And sometimes that's not a good thing to do. And I can also get an idea whether or not they can transfer assets and maybe form some Medicaid trusts and things like that. So I protect them in the event that they might have to go into a nursing home at some point. I can protect the financial assets of the family or help protect. I find that if they have long-term care policies, I'll help get that going and file all the necessary requests for funds.
So I think your CPA background is invaluable.
Years of filling out tax returns has given me the...
Right, and talking to people, too. You have
Correct.
to. Yeah, but so you've been doing that. And so how long have you been down here from New Jersey?
I have been physically here for 3 years. And I go back and forth, but this is where I am, and this is where the people are.
Yeah.
And if I don't have to go back to New Jersey, I'd be very happy.
But they are there in New Jersey, too, as they are all over the country, aren't they?
They are, yes.
But that's true. We do have a huge amount of people down here, and unfortunately, no one thinks they're going to get old. They're not prepared for it. None of us are prepared for it.
You want to know something? I was thinking about this before. You can indulge me. I like to tell stories.
Okay.
When I was 25, I went for a job interview in Manhattan with a Fortune 500 company. I remember the controller offered me the job, and he said, "Oh, we have a pension plan. When you're 65, you'll get $900 a month." And I was 65. I said, that's 40 years from now. And it comes up pretty quick.
Yeah.
Very quick.
Right.
So, yes, and I've learned that. And I try to explain that to people, too.
Yeah, it is true. And actually, a lot of people know that they might be 80 or older, but they don't feel it if they're in health. If they're in good health, they don't. And that's good.
That's great.
And so you actually can come along even when they don't need it. And then I would call you almost a friend in a sense.
Surrogate son.
Sir, that's what you said when I first met you, a surrogate son.
Right.
Right, or even a surrogate daughter. Sometimes the sons don't.
I don't dress
don't
up.
Cut it.
I will.
You don't dress up, right? But you would take them out. Let's just go a little bit further. Would you take them out to dinner? Would you take them to the movies? And it's all part of a fee.
Socially, we've done dinners, lunches, breakfasts. Not big on movies. I think that's more for somebody else, but.
But just a social situation
Absolutely.
where that would be very important.
You know what? That, like I said, 15 minutes of paying bills and 45 minutes of talking.
Yeah.
And if somebody says to me, I wanted to go to, even something like this, if I wasn't exhibiting at this expo, and somebody said, would you take me there? I'd say, sure.
Oh, right, because if you take them there, they're not going to stay the whole time, right? So that's a little bit of a hardship.
Right.
Well, there'll be enough there for you to be able to be a surrogate son. Maybe that's what you have to put in your sign, surrogate son,
Right.
Do you have like a little
available for bar mitzvahs and weddings and things like that.
Yeah, well, it's, we all joke about this, but the elder population is, I really appreciate them. I know that so many are scared, and yet there are many that bond with each other, too. And It's almost like the Golden Girls. I've been talking about that. Before I go to a place where they're, it's all going to be institutionalized, I'll take some women, some men. Let's just get a house and just, help each other.
True.
Right?
True. And if I have to, I'll learn canasta and mahjong,
That's good. That's right. Why not, right?
Whatever.
Or they
Whatever
can
you
play
have
poker.
to do.
You'd be surprised.
That's true.
But you play bingo.
Yes.
And they like bingo,
yes.
right?
Yes.
So would you actually take someone on a cruise?
It's never come up like that.
Separate. You'd have separate places, but
you know what?
There are people who have the money, and they're.
If somebody proposed that to me, who knows? I might say yes.
Right.
Who knows?
Well, because people don't.
As if I was taking my mom.
Exactly.
Or more my dad. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I never got to experience elder care with my parents.
That's what you said.
They both passed at young ages.
Is that right?
And I never, and frankly, I missed that because they were a great resource. And I don't know, I learn on the fly sometimes by speaking to my elder clients. So.
Well, let me tell you something, not knowing your relationship, but I can tell you right now you had a great relationship with your mother and father because that's what makes you like you are. I have found that with people. Yeah. I find that when there's certain ways that you can just almost track it back to their mother that there wasn't a great relationship. Have you found that?
Yeah, it's true. And thinking back to I was the middle child and I was the good kid, and I got a kick out when my father would say, "You're such a good son." That to me was more than anything in the world.
Of course.
So I continue.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's lovely. And I'm sure that you get so much reward besides making this into a business. The reward is that you know that someone is going to be better, happier, and feel secure. That's really what I think you provide is security,
golden years.
Isn't it?
Golden years. I do. I do provide that security, and people know that they can call me at any time, and I'm not going to tell them I don't have time for them.
Yeah,
very important.
That is great. Well, I think you're going to be hard pressed to find competition, frankly.
Thank you.
From what you've been telling me,
Thank
and
you.
it's and it's very needed. We're living in a very strange time now, and so we have to be very careful with whom we associate, and also the we want to give back love. If we're going to get love, you're going to have to give love.
That's right.
And we know that a lot of the elder people are starving for that sometimes, and they shouldn't be.
That's right.
And they may not get it from their family members. They will get it from friends, and they'll get it from outside people.
Right.
So, well, let's get into some little serious things. So let's say they have a bank account.
Right.
Then you will reconcile their bank account for them.
I reconcile the bank account. I keep the checkbook. I don't hold it myself,
No,
but
I
keep it. I make sure everything's recorded. I make sure that the money that is supposed to come in comes in. I make sure that, nowadays people get phone calls from a telemarketer, and they say, a lot of times they don't even hear them. Okay, here the people don't hear well.
Right.
And that, they say, press 2 if. And the next thing you know, you have a new telephone carrier.
Yeah, exactly.
And people, so when I come in and I see a new bill the next month, I say, what is this?
Exactly.
So I'm able to help them. So things usually don't, whether it be a week or a month, they usually don't take long to resolve,
And you know what I've noticed too, Mark, that let's say I have certain bank credit cards, there'll be fake credit cards that look just like it, and they said, well, you have an overrun. Why don't you just give us our number, and then we'll do that? And I never do that, but they might. So hopefully, you've instructed them well enough.
When I sit with them, I tell them before, if anybody asks you for a Social Security number, Medicare number, anything, you call me first, okay? And you tell them that you're going to have your accountant call them, and that's what. And most of the time, they just hang up. And it gets resolved that way.
That's what happens. Well, this is wonderful. I'm so glad to meet you because I've actually been trying to convince some people to get into geriatric care management, but
I think you've convinced me.
Yeah. No. Well, I want you to look it up because that's a name that people would recognize, but it might even be because when I first asked you, so it's elder. Business owner, elder care, but
care services,
you really are a geriatric care manager. I mean that. I'm Oh, good. So maybe I made a difference for you, but I would like to be able to recommend you. There are so many people. As a matter of fact, there's an elder law attorney who's always looking for people to represent, as you said, for whether it's going to be sometimes you don't want people to actually have to go to a court and have someone assigned to you that way.
No, of course.
So it's better to have someone that they would.
I try to put together a team, people that I trust that have the same basic philosophy as me. Anybody who's just looking for a quick buck, I don't deal with. So they have to be, sensitive and empathetic, just like me. Otherwise, and you find there are some real good people out there.
Exactly. Yeah, and there'll be people who need to sell their home and they just need advice. And I'm sure you'll give them very good advice. And I'm happy that we've been able to do this. And I want to thank all our friends who got on Facebook Live. Hopefully you learned something, and I did. Mark, we'll see you over there at the Boomer Expo on July 24th.
Yes, you will. Thank you for having me.
It was my pleasure.
Thank you.